Hello, I'm Jeremy, and welcome to another episode of RevUs Reviews, where mistreated movies get a second chance. Today, I'll be talking about a Disney film with cocaine, a mob family, and Chris Kattan, a funny little gem known as Corky Romano. Chris Kattan is a very underrated comedian. While he's not on the likes of people like John Candy or Steve Martin, the dude has some charisma and likability and can be very funny. As for his filmography, it's rocky to say the least. A Night at the Roxbury is a classic. Hotel Transylvania 2 is a decent sequel that really should have been the last Hotel Transylvania film, and I plan on reviewing Monkey Bone in a future video, but most of Kattan's filmography is a barrage of obscure nothing, as well as the film that beat out A Troll in Central Park for worst box office of an animated film, and fricking Food Fight. However, the same year that Kattan played a dead gymnast for Brendan Fraser to possess in Monkey Bone, he also starred in today's subject, a clever and underrated comedy called Corky Romano. The film centers around the Romano family, a crime family consisting of Pops, his sons Peter and Polly, and Pops' right-hand man, Leo Corrigan, who's secretly an informant for the FBI. Pops is being indicted on racketeering charges and has decided to send someone undercover to destroy the evidence. That someone, the titular Corky Romano, played by Chris Kattan, Pops' third son, who's a kind-hearted veterinarian, unaware of his family's criminal exploits. After some convincing, Corky goes through with his new undercover assignment, and from there, shenanigans ensue. There are many reasons Corky Romano is a good film, but easily the best part is the acting. Every single actor in this movie does a fantastic job. I'll go more in detail on each individual performance when I talk about the characters, but every single actor in this film does a great job capturing their characters, working off the other actors, and appearing very engaged. It's not the best acting in the world, but each actor gives their own unique flair to a character and makes them stand out in fantastic ways. As for the characters themselves, they're great. Let's start with the title character. Corky is the kind of character that you'll either absolutely love or can't stand. I personally love the guy. Chris Kattan does a great job in the role, giving the character a lot of charm, humor, and likability. Corky's introduction scene is literally him just jamming To Take On Me by a-ha in his yellow car. It's a really funny introduction scene that really gives you a good impression of what Corky is like as a character. On top of that, I like how the film utilizes his veterinarian skills. Corky's affinity for and knowledge of animals comes to use in the film in various ways, such as using the lifespan of maggots to determine when a person died, to giving CPR to a dog. It really makes Corky more than just a simple, naive fellow. And while I could definitely understand people being annoyed by Kattan's performance, I think it works for the character. It makes sense for him to be overly nervous in this situation, as he's just a mild-mannered veterinarian who has no experience whatsoever with the mob or the FBI. It makes sense for him to be overly cautious. And while his clumsiness can get cartoonish at points, it never reaches an annoying level, and it makes for some good comedy. Overall, while Corky isn't a perfect character, and I could get how someone might be annoyed by him, I personally think he's very likable, funny, well executed, and has a really good arc. And it also helps that he has great taste in music. An absolutely great main character. Next up are Corky's brothers, Peter and Polly. These two are awesome. Peter Berg and Chris Penn are fantastic in their respective roles. They bring a lot of comedic charm to their performances and really make the characters stick out. Their angry, hardened demeanors perfectly contrast off of Corky's innocent, friendly demeanor. They work perfectly well with each other and the other characters, and they have plenty of funny moments and lines. And their arcs of accepting Polly's illiteracy and Peter's homosexuality are well handled and enjoyable arcs. Overall, Peter and Polly are fantastic. They're funny, work off the other characters perfectly, and make a great movie even more enjoyable. Great job, Pennenberg. Moving on to Pops. Pops is a really good character. Unlike Peter and Polly, he's much more caring and sympathetic towards Corky. Yet he's still a pretty tough character who's determined to set things straight. Pops is the perfect mixture of tough and sympathetic. Peter Falk does a good job playing the character, and he has some funny lines. Not much to say. Rounding out the Romano family, we have Leo. In addition to Fred Ward giving a great performance, I like how the film doesn't hide that he's the informant. They just up and reveal that he's working with the FBI. There's no one else in the film who could be the informant, as he's not directly related to the family, so they just up and say it. This allows more time for Leo to be a villain, and adds some really enjoyable dramatic irony. Overall, while Leo isn't one of the best villains of all time, he's still a very enjoyable character that adds a lot to the film. Finally, we have two of the FBI agents, Kate Russo and Brick Davis. Kate is basically the complete opposite of Corky. Where Corky is naive, friendly, cowardly, and not that tough, Kate is professional, not that approachable, brave, and pretty tough. And like with Peter and Polly, both Corky and Kate's contrasting personalities bounce off each other effectively. And while Vanessa Shaw doesn't really do anything to make the character more unique or stick out, she still does a good job acting, and it's interesting seeing her relationship with Corky evolve as the film goes on. As for Davis, he's pretty much the Grimes to Corky's Homer. While everyone else in the FBI base loves Corky, Davis can't stand Corky, and tries and fails to get him kicked off and hated. Like Vanessa Shaw, Matthew Glave doesn't really break any boundaries, but does manage to give the character of Brick Davis a lot of personality. His dynamic with Corky is very interesting and makes for some good comedy and conflict, and there's a clever twist with the character that I won't spoil here. All in all, Brick Davis is a pretty good character. Moving on to the comedy. Like the title character, you will either love or hate the comedy in this film. It's very immature, silly, convoluted, and can be dated in places. But overall, the comedy in Corky Romano still works. Sure, not every joke lands, but when the film hits, it really hits. For example, during the scene where they set up Corky's fake identity, the computer guy asks what Corky's alias is, and Polly calls him a pissant. And Corky's alias ends up being Agent Pissant, which Corky pronounces as Pisson. It's an incredibly immature joke, but it has a solid setup and payoff, making it funny. And the other comedy bits work like that as well. There's a scene where Corky messes up a translation mission. There's a scene where Peter and Polly order ice cream from an ice cream truck. There's a scene where Corky has to talk to a bunch of kids after accidentally being doused with cocaine. And there's a scene where one of the mob family takes over for Corky while he's off with the FBI mission. While these scenes are pretty immature, and I can understand someone not finding them funny, they all have a pretty funny setup and have a pretty good payoff, which makes the jokes land better than jokes in similar films. Finally, let's talk about Corky Romano's plot escalation. As the film goes on, the plot gets more and more convoluted and ridiculous. But Corky Romano makes it work, as the progression manages to be hilariously over the top without being confusing. Every aspect is balanced so well that the viewer manages to be entertained without being lost. It's very well done and makes a funny film even funnier. And I also like how the film doesn't dwell on the liar reveal trope. Kate finds out Corky is a Romano because of his graduation picture, and while she's obviously upset, it's not something that the film focuses on too much. This allows the film to quickly bypass the liar reveal trope and be more entertaining. Neat stuff. In conclusion, while Corky Romano isn't a masterpiece by any means, it's still a very funny movie. The comedy is really clever and enjoyably silly. The characters are likable and work well off each other. The actors all capture their roles effectively, and it's an overall good time. As much as I love Kevin Murphy of RevTrax, I respectfully disagree with him about this film. Is Corky Romano cinema? No. Could I understand someone hating this film? Heck yes. But at the end of the day, a comedy is supposed to make you laugh. And Corky Romano, both the film and the character, made me laugh. If you like mob movies, are a Chris Kattan fan, or are looking for a fun comedy to laugh at, definitely give Corky Romano a watch. It may not be perfect, but it's my kind of fun. That's all for now. Tune in next episode when I take a break from talking about old movies and actually review a film from this year. But till then, this is Jeremy, signing out. See ya.